Good.
We need to have a cable that if it's
I don't mind. The what I'm going to say, I say it's based on experience, but people who are the co-knowledge, the people who said, you know, I know enough to be able to add to this, I can say something. Thinking about academic medicine, false understandings. I've long ago lost track of new knowledge. You need to be able to correct false understandings. We need people to develop the discipline, take it forward in a way that people like me and people in my generation can no longer envisage. You only and it's really so really go for trying to disprove. You may have your pet theory, but fire at it. Really shoot. more likely to make prescribing errors because there isn't the support mechanism. A place where you get fewest prescribing errors are places like paediatric. I don't personally bother with research that consolidates things because I haven't got the time or the energy or the inclination. I let other people do that. president of that. It's much more about the things you do, much more about the stuff that you do and get involved with. And we could possibly